Hello, draft fans. We're here today to do something a little bit different. We're well into the Adventures in the Forgotten Realm draft season now, and something I thought would be quite interesting to do would be to come up with an achievement list for the set. So when you're playing on the Xbox or the PlayStation, you're playing a game, the games have their own achievement lists or trophy lists, that things that you can do to aim towards doing while playing games, or things that just happen naturally along the way. And I thought it would be interesting to think about what could happen in a limited format in a set like this. If you manage to get any of these, feel free to tweet them across to the Twitter page at PLD_MTG. And just before we get started, I would like to say thank you for everybody who's subscribed recently, taken from about 101 to 118, I think. So really, really appreciate that. Every single subscription at this point is really, really appreciated. But without any further ado, let's get into the list. And we're going to start off here with number 10. It's kind of a top 10, I suppose, but ENRAGE the MAGE. And this is quite a simple one. We're going to start easy and get a little bit harder and more rare as we go along. And ENRAGE the MAGE, simply complete the dungeon of the Mad Mage. I hope that I will do this a number of times in the format. I think it's quite a relatively simple thing to do. I haven't done it yet. I usually go in the mines because I haven't drafted many turbo venture decks yet, but it's definitely a doable thing to do here. If you blue black and you got like a really good venture deck, then it's definitely possible. And like I say, it's not the hardest thing in the world to do, and that's why it's coming in number 10, but I think it's still an achievement in its own right, and well done if you manage to get there. Number 9, and just call it Dungeon Master, linking it a little bit with the Dungeons and Dragons flavour in there. And this is one where it's just going to be complete a dungeon twice in a single game. I've completed lots of dungeons so far. It's quite easy to complete the mine. I haven't completed the Mad Mage yet, but I don't think in a single game, I've completed two dungeons in a single game. So I think that is an interesting achievement and worth mentioning. Similarly, we've got what I'm going to call High Roller, and it's a very similar one to the previous one, where it's just get 2 nat 20s in a single game. I've had 1 or 2 nat 20s so far. An opponent has definitely had 2 nat 20s against me when they got critical hit back twice. Wasn't salty about that game whatsoever, but it's possible to do. Dice rolling is a big part of this game, and it did feel natural to have a dice rolling one in here. Also, thanks to the guys over at the Draft Chaff Discord, so that's Draft Chaff Podcast Discord, because they did suggest this one to me, and I had 9 and I was looking for a 10th, and that was a really good one. If you haven't listened to Draft Chaff, if you like the channel, you'll love their podcast because they're really into the joy of drafting, a little bit competitive, but not all about the competitive side. And if you're at any way a draft fan, you'd probably want to give them a listen, so I really recommend that. I'll put a link in the description down below. Coming in at number 7, I've got one which took us a little while to come up with a name for. I'm going to call it Faraday's Fumble, and this is one which you can end up in a draw even if you're trying to win the game. It's not something that you're going to go out your way to do something silly with. And it's, if you cast Faraday's Fireball, if you're at 2 life and the opponent's at 2 life or 1 life each, and you can cast this, you roll a 1 at 9, you're going to end up forcing a draw. I believe you're forcing a draw. Let us know if I've got those rules wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've got them right. And like I say, it's not even like you're trying to draw. You can be trying to win, rolling the dice, hoping to get that 10 to 19 or 10 to 20, I suppose. And you can still end up getting that 45% chance to draw the game. This will happen to somebody. Might not happen to everybody, but I think it's something that's going to happen often enough. But I think it's funny. I think it's one of those weird things in the format, and I think it's really interesting and worth mentioning. So let us know if that happens to you, and that's one I would quite like to see a screenshot of. Number 6, I'm going to call it Wild Thing, and it's based around the combo which is taken standard in 2020 standard by storm a little bit. The Splinter Twin combo based around Delina Wild Mage, and this is where you have Delina, you have a Pixie Guide out, and you attack with Delina. You roll 15 to 20, I think you need to get. You make a combo of you make a copy of the Pixie Guide, you get a roll again and again and again and again, and eventually you end up with an army of Pixie Guides. It's the thing which has made the errata to Delina, as you can see. I've put it on the card there, where it changes to you may roll again, because otherwise it would put an endless loop on that you can't exit in any sensible amount of time. Halfway through now, going on number 5, I've called this one Who's the Flayer Now? And this is one which it's starting to get in the silly territory. We do still have some serious ideas coming up in the top 5, but some of these are sillier and a bit more rare because they rely on a lot of rare cards. And this is where Mind Flayer, A+ card, quantum limit resources. I definitely agree with them. When I've seen it in games, it just absolutely smashes. I played against it 2 games in a row, and I was salty after that, I have to say. But you know what? Opponent plays a Mind Flayer, they nick your thing. You can play your own Mind Flayer, nick their Mind Flayer. You're going to take over their Mind Flayer the Mind Flayer. You won't get your creature back, which is a little bit annoying. But, you know, if they leave this up as their only blocker, if you steal it, use it like a removal spell, you can get in for the win. Or it's just kind of cool to do. Yes, okay, probably not the most competitive thing to do, but it is pretty funny if you manage to do it. Number 4, I'm going to call it Star Power. And this is an ability which is on a card. It's the Inferno of Star Mount. And it's ability on a card, we want to see it work. It's a really powerful ability if it happens. But if you activate the ability on the card and you get its power to 20 or more using that ability, then it deals 20 damage directly to the opponent's face. You probably would win anyway here, but it's ability on the card I want to see happen. And this is the type of thing which, you know, if you're playing with some friends, you're just going to activate it to work. Also, it does have a bit of a competitive slant if you're going to swing in with it for the win. And they've got to cast a removal spell on it. You can activate this to get it to 20 power potentially, and you know that's probably a very slight edge case where this is actually matters in a competitive sense. Going to the top 3, number 3, going to some usually rare cards from now on, and this one is one where it's not competitively advised. Definitely, I'm going to call it Mother of Dragons, and this is just to cast Tiamat. It's a 7/7 for 7, which sounds really good, but you need Wooburg mana plus 2 more. I could go really highbrow on this and say you need to get yourself a white dragon, a blue dragon, a black dragon, a red dragon, and a green dragon using Tiamat's ability, but I'm not going to go that far because that is really, really ridiculous. And they don't even come on the battlefield, but you know, it does potentially draw you a card or two. It's probably possible in some kind of treasure deck. It's just not a great limited card. I think it's a really sweet card to have in the set. It really evokes the flavour of Tiamat, but you know, it's not encouraged. You probably won't ever see it. It's not usually worth a build around, but it's the exact thing I would do with an F&M draft or the Monday night drafts that my local store has, and I would be happy to do. You know, if I get a pack 1 and say, okay, let's do it. We're doing this. Let's go. Number 2, big hands. Anybody got big hands? You know what they say about big hands? You've got a lot of cards. And this is just using the wizard class, the first ability on wizard class. You have no maximum hand side, and it just is pretty much flavor text, let's be honest. But you know, on occasion it might be worth it. You get to 8 cards in hand, end of turn you're supposed to discard a card, but you don't have to because you have no maximum hand size. Might mean that your mana's screwed, but you know, it is still potentially quite a good thing that can happen. If you get this one, I do want to see a screenshot of this one as well. I think it's a you know, quite a small thing, but it's kind of cool when it happens. It just makes you go, oh, that's kind of cool. And, you know, it's worth talking about and worth kind of tweeting out there and letting the world know that it happened. But here we are at number 1. What's number 1? What is the biggest thing, flavour-wise, power-wise, that I'm thinking that can happen in the set? In D&D, one of the most powerful characters that exists is Vectis, because the most powerful thing you can do is become a god. And in Adventures of the Forgotten Realms Magic set, you can summon Vectis. You need 3 rares to do it, so it's not going to be an easy feat, but somebody out there somewhere will summon Vectis, and I want to see it. Love to see just on the battlefield. You can. It's an 8/8 indestructible creature with all the abilities of the Vectis components, and you know, chances are the opponent's going to see it. Is there a way to deal with it in the set? I suppose you can give it -11, but it's going to be quite difficult to do. But if you do it, it's got to be the achievement of the set. Number 1 here, without a doubt. And that's pretty much it. If you've enjoyed it, let us know. If you think of any other achievements which I haven't covered, I would like to hear them as well. There's lots of things I did consider, but these were the top 10 that I could think of, and a nice spectrum of things that were going on. As said before, tweet at the Twitter channel. If you manage to get all these things, I'll probably put a couple of tweets out when I get them. Also, if you haven't already, a subscription would be amazing. It costs you nothing. Just click on it. Like I say, we're about 118 now. Every single one is absolutely adored. You know, whenever I load up the YouTube and I can see that I've got another subscriber, it's a fantastic thing. Over the last year, I've got up to 118. Every single one now is still a major addition, and I really appreciate every single one. But that is about it for now. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you soon at the draft table.